You're now listening to the smooth sounds of life after death. I'm your host, the Marcus Garrett. Let's get started with this week's episode. And this is the drop. Ellie Chope helps entrepreneurs make money and get more funding. According to Ellie, everything you need to create the life you want is already within you. By sharing her story and starting her business, she was able to turn her $1,200 stimulus check into a 7-figure business in only 1 year. Welcome to the show, Ellie.
Thank you so much, Marcus. I am so excited to be here, and thank you for that intro.
I appreciate it. Thank you for joining me. I love that your website begins with "Hello, Future Millionaire." Tell the people a little bit about your brands, Ellie Talks Money, and this great one, Elevated Academy.
Yes, absolutely. So Ellie Talks Money is something that I developed. Well, when I decided to start my business, I was using my actual name. But one thing I realized is, how are people going to know what I'm about if I don't have something about that in my handle or in my brand? And so that's when I developed Ellie Talks Money, because I was all about helping people make more money and as well get money in terms of getting funding. So that's what birthed that. And then the whole mission behind my brand has been to show women specifically how they can start businesses and scale them by leveraging funding, ultimately so that women can build wealth. I'm a mother of 4, so it's very important to me to create legacy and to provide for my kids, even when I'm no longer here. And so that's a huge undertone in my business, is not just how women can start and scale these businesses with things like digital marketing and business funding, but as well how we can set these businesses up to last so that our kids are still able to benefit from the wealth we created. So that is what I teach in my academy. So Elevated Academy is my online school where I have all my courses and classes about business and funding and grants and passive income, different things that women can start doing now to really take the reins of their financial life.
I think it's going to mean something different for you, and you've hit it a few times, and I've heard the word mentioned more often because I'm going to more conferences and networking, but funding. Can you break down what funding means? And I think that's a little bit different than asking your mom and them. I could be wrong. So could you break that down for the audience?
So funding is so important, and one of the reasons that I became passionate about teaching people how to get business funding is that for Black-owned businesses and women-owned businesses as well, we are statistically the least funded businesses. So funding can mean things like getting a business loan, a business credit card, a business line of credit, even just a grant, a business grant, is a way of funding. Any money that can be seeded into your business is funding. And when we look at the data, white-owned businesses or male-owned businesses typically will get $150,000, let's say, in funding, as compared to less than $15,000 for Black-owned businesses and women-owned businesses. And that is staggering, right? When we think about what can contribute to the success of a business, having $150,000 is critical. And having less than 15, really, when it's coming down to it, can't do as much as you might need for your business. So funding is like a lifeline to many businesses.
I appreciate it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how we got here today. I'm going to transition to the Life After Debt segment. The award-winning Life After Debt segment is where my guest and I share motivational money stories. Although it sounds like today is going to be some funding stories about how to turn your dreams into real dollars. The Life After Debt segment is made possible thanks to our partners like Jeremy Snyder at Personal Finance Club. If you listened last week, this is Financial Planning Month this October, and you can watch my live sort of interview with Jeremy in my podcast lineup, where he breaks down how to money like a millionaire, covering areas like estate planning, taxes, investing, and much more. Learn how to money like a millionaire today when you click the link in your show notes. Now back to this week's episode. I actually came across Ellie. We were talking about the black box, the small world, big world. I was actually following you on Instagram. I've been following you on the gram. Because of the bootleg way the algorithm's set up, you never see the people you actually follow anymore. And so I
So
was
true.
doing some background research, and I actually came across you. You did a presentation or a seminar, you could talk about it, for Thinkific, and you had
Mhm.
5 key takeaways there, combine and conquer session, and you shared your inspiring story of growing your business from the ground up. Those 5 takeaways, I'll go through them real quickly and then want to do a breakdown, is building an engaging community. Step 2 is creating relevant and valuable content. 3, a membership model, which I really want to talk about because I think that's a little bit unique to you. Number 4, always be studying your audience. And number 5, price your digital product according to your audience, not you.
Yeah.
So, running it
Mhm.
back, can you tell us a little bit about building an engaging community?
Absolutely. So this is so key to really building any business online, is building that community element. We are in a world now where there's so much information, there's so many people on social media, there's really open access to everything. And the only way that you're going to stand out in this market is to have a more community based approach. It's no longer whoever has the most information wins, right? Or whoever has the lowest price, even. It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of who can create community and who can make people feel like they matter in that community, who can make people feel like they're not just a number, but they're also, hey, let's go on this journey together. And I found that one of the ways to really build community in that way is to consistently post content, to consistently show up for your audience on social media, and not just show up, but to show up and give value, right? People trust you more when they feel like they can learn from you and hear from you, even if they haven't given you $1 yet, right? And that's a real key way to not only get into people's wallet, so to speak, but to also really get into their heart and to become a part of their growth, especially when we talk about entrepreneurship and building a business. It takes people time to determine if they're going to buy from you. And so if along the way of them making that decision, they can also gain value and see you show up consistently and see you go live and see you talk to them and see you answer their questions, now they're connected to you. And that community building is what will ultimately always lead to making sales, because people are buying from you because they want to.
Possibly pushing back a little bit. I think it's
Hmm.
an informed question for the audience. Is okay. What about the person? In full disclosure, this was me for 2 years. I was out there,
Hmm.
just dropping content, and I got like 2,000 followers, but I had stagnated. I'm like, man, ain't nobody feeling me in the streets no more. My hot 16, I hitting like it used to. So what about the person who's been out there dropping? They just feel like they're not vibing. The question I had written down here is: does the platform matter, or how do you connect? Because I feel like some people be like, man, I've been trying to connect for X number of years. I'm not connected. So
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I do get that question a lot. I think that what's really working well now is short form content. So I think you can achieve results on any platform, but I can say from experience, you will build that community faster on platforms like Instagram and TikTok, because those are some of the 2 apps that people spend most of their time on during the day. I mean, hours and hours of time. If you can capture their attention in 15-second and 30-second videos, that's going to help you grow your following. So I always find that creating content that is short and catchy and teaches people 3 steps, right? It's my 3-step formula. So giving people 3 little nuggets of game in 30 seconds or less on a consistent basis creates really shareable content that people can continue to give and add to their stories, tag people in, and it's just short enough and small enough that they're getting a little taste of what you have to offer, but not getting the whole masterclass, of course.
I think it was, but just in case it was, I try to think of the questions the audience who's not here would have, so they get mad at me and then they
Right.
email me. Short form content, are you saying in comparison to a blog, or what is short form content?
Sure, absolutely. So short form content would be like an Instagram reel or a TikTok video. So a minute or less. And these are going to be where you're essentially answering a question or again, sharing 3 steps. So that 3-step formula. And the reason why this goes well is because we've seen, unfortunately, that the attention spans of the average consumer are like drastically less than they were even just 2 years ago, right? People want things faster, shorter, quicker than they ever did before. And so that's what we're competing with is, okay, how do I get someone's attention in 30 seconds or less? And truly, you have the first 7 seconds to really have a punchline to get them to stay on the video to watch the rest, right? So we are challenged in this day and age with our business and with our content to create valuable content that is not just going to teach you something, but also going to keep you entertained long enough to stay on the video. And that's, how that element of community building starts to come into play, because you're able to put your personality in order to keep someone on a video. You kind of have to do something either funny or that's going to catch their attention. And that can be one way to relate to your audience by adding in some of those elements. So yes, people will watch a 30-second video much sooner than they'll read a blog post. But that's why short form content is so powerful, because it is, again, the teaser. And once they like what you've had to say in that video and you say, hey, for the rest of this info, click the link in my bio and go to my blog. Now they have a reason to go to your blog because they already liked you from the short video that they saw.
Like it. I love it. I also have found that those people tend to be more, at least the term I've used and heard is sticky. So the people who are going to come from that content and come to the blog, they're a little bit stickier. They're going to stay around longer.
Exactly. Definitely. Versus just posting a blog post. People don't have any reason why they should stay and read it. You see what I'm saying? So yes, very true.
I'm going to tie these two together. Feel free to split them back apart. Step 2 was content leads to cash flow and community. We talked a little bit about that. But the one that I really want to hit, to probably spend the most time on, is the membership model increases loyalty and trust among your audience. Now we've got a community. How do we monetize?
Absolutely. So I love that we're putting these together because the one really does lead into the other. So with the sense of content increasing your cash flow and just overall being a real way to hold this all together, people are going to trust you by the content you create. And then people are also going to decide to buy from you through the content that you create. So what you want to do is look at, okay, how do I make sure that I am always representing what my audience needs, and also showing them how they can get more of what they need through my content. And another great thing you can do to prepare for that next step, which is membership, is use your content to do research. So when you are creating content, do things like polls, comments, asking people questions. What do they need help with? So through your content, not only are you educating, but you're also gaining information from them so that you start taking notes on what they need from you. So you ask them to fill out a poll. Hey, what are you most struggling with right now in your weight loss journey, for example, or in your business? And this is all a part of your content. How helpful would it be to have something every day to help you with your weight loss or to help you with your business? So you're starting to see what your audience needs and how can you provide that through a membership model. So now, once you have some of that data, creating a revenue, like a recurring revenue business or a subscription or membership model, is one of the best ways to not only increase your bottom line in your business, but also to even deeper establish a community. Because people are already in your community by the fact that they're following you and they're commenting and liking every day, right? That's one step of being in your community. But now you have the ability to really impact them in another way by inviting them to a closed space community where they can not only have access to you, but also have access to other like-minded people and for a low cost, right? So now these are your ride or dies, right? If they're coming to join this community, whether they're paying $20 a month or maybe even $100, they're super invested in the transformation they can achieve. And they're super invested in how much they trust you to help them achieve that transformation. And so the reason why it'll end up, increasing the loyalty and trust in your brand overall is because once you get to that first milestone of 100 people, then you can say, hey, our business has a community of 100 people who show up every month or every day and are in their monthly membership. And then once you get to 1,000, our community has 1,000 people who trust us enough that they show up every day and make their payment every month. And this is how much it's impacted their life. And from that community is going to be your prime source of testimonials. That's going to be your prime source of reviews. And once you've got 1,000 positive reviews, you'll never go out of business.
I got nothing. That was a great tie together. So I'm gonna move
You'll
on.
never go out of business because you really only need 1,000 true fans. You need 1,000 true customers, pretty much, right? And if those people continue to come back, no matter what your offer is, you'll always have, a successful business.
I love it. Item 5, and just so folks know, I did not skip. We hit number 4. It was always be studying your audience. She talked about polling your audience, and really the only note that I took there is that polls, and this is not a shot at Instagram. Oh, excuse me, at TikTok. Maybe they are, but I know they're free on Instagram. You can poll your audience for free, and I know that marketing and branding partnerships, they love that data that you've already got. It also just shows a level of
they love it
that they usually don't see. So moving to number 5, it was pricing your digital product according to your audience, not you. I hadn't seen that "not you" before. So what do you mean by that? Can you explain?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I mean in this case, a lot of the time when people go into starting businesses, they look at what do they want their revenue to be, right? How much do they feel like they should charge for a particular product or service? But sometimes, especially when you're in that first year, 2 years, even 3 years of your business, it's not about you, right? It's about you figuring out what your customer needs and designing to your customer. So in business, ego cannot exist, right? We often want to say, well, I want my price to be this because I deserve that price. But this is not about you. It's not about what you deserve right now. But that first, 12 months, 24 months, 36 months is so much about building the relationship with your audience and gaining the community and gaining the trust and gaining that, true loyalty with your audience that you need to price things based on what your customer is going to continue to show up for, right? And as you get more results and as you get more customers who you've proven to them like, hey, I only charged you this much and look what you've been able to do, they will understand that later the price went up, right? But if we look at people, large businesses and even celebrities who have these huge prices now, they didn't always start that way. They had to start with, all right, I know who I am, but first I got to make sure people know who I am. And then I can charge related to that. So it's just a journey, and you have to be willing to remove yourself from the equation and focus only on what does that customer need, because that is what is going to scale your business, is having more customers.
And actually, I'm going to hit them with it, and this is the wrap. And I know they're shocked and appalled, probably some music starting right now, but just like I have learned from this episode, and y'all will see in the future, give them a little teaser, just enough to give them a little taste to make them want some more. So I want you to tell them where they can find you, the wrap, if you enjoyed today's episode. And in fact, we want to hear from you. You can leave a voicemail at the link in your show notes or visit themarcusgarrett.com/show. I do, of course, not want to cut you off. Is there anything else that you want to share or want the people to know?
I think we talked about so many amazing things. I would just encourage the audience, if you have a business now or you want to start, really look at how can you create more content. That is the ultimate equalizer right now in business. It's not how much money you have, it's how much attention can you gain. And the way to gain more attention is through content creation.
Great message. And thank you for coming on the show. Tell them where they can find your content.
Absolutely. So you guys can find me everywhere at Ellie Talks Money on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all over the place. That is my name and website. And to enroll in my classes, you can go to elevatedacademy.com.
Thanks for coming on the show.